What's going on, people? Welcome back to the Just TV, back again, and it is the Real Talk Podcast Show, and I've got some fantastic guests with us as well. I've got Philip, Toon Tactics TV. Big up to you, Phil.
Big up to you, John. Thank you again. Always a privilege to be on this channel. Always good to be talking to your chat. Salute to you all, guys, and to the panel, Ricardo, and to Peter as well.
Salute. Pete, how you doing, mate?
Very well, thanks, John. You?
Fantastic stuff. And I've got Benfica fan, and I'm so glad to get him on. And I've got Ricardo, also Newcastle fan, and most importantly, a Benfica fan. Big up to you, Ricardo.
Thank you, John. Thank you for the invitation. Hello, guys. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Fantastic stuff. And guys, like the video, like what you watch, make sure you smash the like button, hit the subscribe button as well, please. Also, we like the super chat's open, bottom right corner. If you'd like to become a member as well, it's the same thing as well. I know people are struggling to have problems finding becoming a member as well. My chats are not working at the minute. I don't know why, but hopefully they'll come very, very soon. Right, Ricardo, the reason got you on, you're a big Benfica fan, and you see highs and lows, and the reason we got you on tonight, we're going to talk about possibly our new sporting director. Apparently, Newcastle were in talks yesterday in London, and it's Pedro Braz. And Can you please tell the viewers more about Braz? What does he do? What does he bring? What can he do to Newcastle United if it's going to be him? And is he the right guy to take our club forward if it's him?
Okay, so this is a very personal opinion. Let's start with, the facts. So Rui Pedro Braz was a very well-known TV personality. He was a sports commentator and analyst, what you call a pundit. Very well-known. Everybody in the country knew him. He has a lot of connections in all the clubs, in all the structures, in all the football structures in the country. And then, in a very surprising move, he started his, let's say, sports career as one of Benfica's VPs or directors. And he's mainly in charge, so far as we know, because a lot of his work is done in the shadows, right? It's done in the backgrounds. So what is the most visible aspect of his work is more related to, first of all, I think he's the one in charge of the negotiations team. So with the clubs where they have players that Benfica is interested in, he's the one who deals with the negotiations. I'm sorry if my English is not perfect, so I'll try to.
It's great.
Absolutely perfect.
It's better than my Portuguese, I'll tell you that.
Fair enough. So I would say he's in charge of the team that negotiates with the clubs that have players that Benfica is interested. He's the one who does the follow-up on those players. He's the one that goes to the countries, like, for example, what happened with Enzo Fernandes as the main example. I think he went to Argentina, I don't know, maybe 20 times to see if he could convince the club and the player to join us as soon as possible. Every time there's a new player coming in from overseas to Benfica, he's the one that usually is seen in the airport escorting the player. He's the one that keeps all the newspaper, all the news journalists away. Please don't ask any questions. You're going to have your chance to ask all the questions after in press conferences and whatever. So right now he's not. Well, what I would say that it's maybe most of his work is not actually seen. We don't actually know 100% what he does in the club, but the most visible aspect, the facade of his career in Benfica as a sporting director, has to deal with the negotiation, closing deals with new signings with the clubs, escorting the players. I'm pretty sure he has something to do, on welcoming the players in terms of giving them what they need. Maybe even he has a team that provides housing, all that let's call it welcoming package that a new player that joins the club gets. So I would say that's his main job at the club. But sorry, just one slight remark. He has a degree, an MBA in sports management. So academically, he's trained to be a sporting director. If he does it right now at the club, I'm not sure. We have another person, someone called Lourenço Coelho, and he's the sporting director for football for the club.
Absolutely fantastic. Wow. Let's go through the comments. So there's not many, but we'll go through it before we come on to Pete. Hi to you, Paul. Hope you're okay. Hi to Scott, Leicester fan. Hope you find I'm real great. And I really hope that you get your club sorted, man. Take the Premier League to the cleaners. Big up to Alan Little. Hi to Alan. Hi to Santosh as well. Big up to you, mate. I hope you're great. Your English is excellent, Ricardo. And that's kind for Santosh there. And big up to Mama Flossie, my new mod as well. Big up to Mama Flossie. Please show her some love. And we get that. Pete, Ricardo's comments is very, very impressive, man. What do you think of that?
Yeah, sounds like a guy who would do well, who could be a really good Dan Ashworth replacement if we were to get him as well. I mean, he must. It sounds like he's scouts or he's brought some very top players into Benfica's football club as well. So, yeah, if we do get this guy, very, very interesting. Because we know Dan Ashworth's on his way out. We know we do. Even though Man United are trying to play hard ball with us by the sound of it, because they don't want to pay the money and all of that. But we know he's going. And someone like him would be really, really good.
Absolute facts. Sounds interesting. Do you guys think you might be going for multiple appointments? Maybe Braz as the head and people below for transfer scouting and targeting. Well, it is Philip, right? I mean, if it's going to be him, we don't know if it's going to be him or not. But if he's the new sports team director, do you think he'll keep Eddie Howe, number one, or number two, we have his own manager coming in?
I think first of all, I think we can do better. I don't think he's the man for Newcastle United. I accept that obviously the things that are spoken about, his recruitment and everything else. He's only been doing this for 2-3 years. I'll be wondering why he went from a pundit to all of a sudden a club director. I'll be interested to know the motivations behind that, because Newcastle United is Benfica. They're an incredible team in terms of everything they've won, but it's different in terms of the pressure that's going to come up here as well. So he needs to have, I would like to know what his motivations are in terms of what he's doing. I think we can do better because there are other directors with a lot more experience than him. If you just look at Paul Mitchell, I don't know how many clubs, 3-4 clubs he's been at. He started up, he's the guy that brought in Dele Alli, the other Tottenham defenders there. He's the guy that totally reinvigorated Monaco, for instance. Dealt with a bloated squad of 77 players, reduced it down to like 30 or 40, something like that. You know, I need stuff like that. I need to see someone with achievements that are stacked high in that sense. And Newcastle need that. I don't think he's even got a longer resume than Dan Ashworth. He's not better than Dan Ashworth. So if we're going to get someone to replace Dan Ashworth, it has to be someone equal to or better than. But to answer your question, John, in terms of that, yeah, I think I did a show recently, and I think there is a likelihood that Dan Ashworth's role could be split in two, where you have one director that's more focused on the recruitment side of things, first team recruitment especially, and you have another director, and probably more of a sporting director, who's looking at the background staff structure, the academy, especially. I did an episode recently where I think to have, for instance, a Paul Mitchell doing the first part, the recruitment, and then to have a Phil Giles doing the other side would be incredible. That's what I'll be talking about if Newcastle are serious about winning leagues and Champions League. But I don't think Mr. Braz has that. I think even the person that was there before them, Thiago, has got more experience and has actually did a lot more in building Benfica up, in my opinion. So
I agree.
That's my view.
Yeah, that's a fair comment there. From Philip. Comment in a minute, Tony, as well. I'll go through the comments as well, because there's comments flying through as questions as well. Go back to Santosh. Sounding interesting. Do you guys think we might be going for multiple appointments? Maybe Braz has ahead people below for transfer scouting, targeting, Ricardo?
Well, I'm pretty sure Rui Pedro Braz is not a scout. He works with, the scouts that collaborate with the club. Actually, we used to have a guy that I would love to see back in the club, which is José Boto. He used to be the sports director for PAOK Salonika. And he had a huge network of scouts. And he was the one who actually brought, let's say, players like Di Maria, for example, to Benfica when he started in Rosario Central. I'm pretty sure Braz is not a scout, although he has extensive knowledge on players. But he could work, or he could set up his own network of scouts in the club in Newcastle and then work his way down from there. And but we have to also think about how the transfer market is played in the UK differently than in Portugal, right? You guys have you need to have some special conditions for the player to have a work permit in the UK, and in Portugal that doesn't work. We can go and grab a kid who's just 18 out of an academy in Brazil, and you guys cannot do that. You need to have certain you have to fill in certain conditions in order to join a club like Newcastle in the UK, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if he sets up his own network of scouts, or even works with a scouting team that already works for Newcastle, I'm pretty sure he's gonna have to work his way around that.
Yeah.
So identifying a kid in Argentina, Uruguay, Brazil, or whatever, it doesn't matter, because bringing him in, that's a different story. So I don't know how that would work. But listen, he did it in Benfica, and you've seen the results in the last few years. So
I think Newcastle would want. From what I can see, we need to build our own academy up. I think last year we only had one guy pass a scholarship. That's insane. That is not good. And especially for a club where we've had our Michael Carricks, we've had our Alan Shearers, and all those other guys. I think we almost struck it lucky with Louis Miley. God help us if he wasn't around this year. So we really, really, I would love to see more guys coming in through our academy. So, unless he's up for it and staying on Blythe and going through the area and get the catchment area and saying, I wouldn't necessarily go that way.
Fair enough.
That would be awesome. If Newcastle have its own academy, and bringing kids, having half the team kids from the academy and the other half experienced players, that would be perfect.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
Exactly. Let's go through the comments. Good to get Tony in as well. Benfica have fantastic reputation recruiting abroad like Brazil Wonder Kids. Wondering how much involvement Braz will have had. That does have to cover that one, Santos there, mate. And I tell you what, that ain't going to be easy. It works in Benfica. It's not going to work for Newcastle at this stage. Big up to Gareth. Hope you're okay. Hi to Craig. Big Mormal fan. And everyone, hope you're doing well. We are indeed. And Tony, we spoke yesterday. We was going to do the show about DM Braz. What's your take on him? Because you said on a DM that they were talking to you yesterday, and you think he could be good, but Ricardo thinks differently.
Well, don't know a lot about him, to be honest, John. Just what I'm reading between the lines. But they said there was talks last week with him, and he was still in London on Saturday. Obviously, Amanda and my dad were at Luton Town first, and then they went down. Obviously, they're going to Wembley for the England game. Obviously, watching Gordon and Bruno. Maybe they've met up with him. The firm that's doing the recruitment, maybe they've seen something in Braz that's totally different to Paul Mitchell. I mean, the reason they might not go for Paul Mitchell is because Paul Mitchell only seems to spend 2 years at each project, and they want probably somebody for the longer term. Dan Ashworth didn't hang around long with us. Now he's on gardening leave until Man United decide to pay the money. And I hope the club do hang out for the 21 million. I don't care if he's on gardening leave. He can sit there as long as he needs to, because, if they don't want to pay the money, he's not working, is he? So, but there again, we don't know if something's going on behind the scenes that, we don't know if Ashworth's secretly talking to Man United at times. Nobody knows. But yeah, I mean, like I say, I don't know too much about him. I know he was an ex-TV pundit. And I know you've had some good young players coming into the club, like Marcus Leonardo, who, you know, I was surprised we didn't go in for him. You know, there's a lot of young talent out there in like South America and that we should have been snapping up. You know,
Tony, I agree with you in terms
we
of...
know Steve Nixon's been out there looking around at talent abroad, but
yeah, Tony, I agree with you on the Paul Mitchell point. And in terms of young persons coming to our academy, Chris Rigg wouldn't come to our academy. So let alone Lisandro from Brazil is going to come to us. We've got a lot to fix up. I agree with you on the Paul Mitchell point in terms of whether he's going to hang around. But you weren't here, but we were discussing that maybe Dan Ashworth's role might be split in two. So one side, you'd have a director who's focusing on the recruitment, i.e. first team recruitment, doing the deals, negotiations, all of that stuff. And the other side, you'd have someone that's more focused on the background, the structure, the backroom staff, the academy and stuff like that. I proposed, and I think it's been said before in other circles, that you can have Paul Mitchell doing the recruitment style, but you can have a Phil Giles, obviously Newcastle, Geordie born, and also former season ticket holder, who probably be here for the more long term, where you can have a Paul Mitchell here for 2-3 years. Dan Ashworth's role, I know that he wasn't. He probably would have preferred him for at least another year or so. But and I'm not trying to say. I'm sure from Man United fans will say, "Oh, it might be sounding bitter," but really, he's the guy that moves tables and chairs around. You know, he described himself as the guy who's the wheel in the spoke. He just brings people together. He wasn't interested in doing the negotiations. He's not interested in doing the scouting. He's not doing any of that stuff. And that's fair play to him. That's what he does. He's an organizer. He just brings people together. You only need those type of people for so long, where you need to then at least get somebody else to do it. But then also you realize, okay, maybe we need someone to do more kind of the technical side of things. We need to focus on the recruitment. We can't have Darren Hills gallivanting around Europe trying to buy players and stuff like that. We need guys that are sharks and essentially and to go in and make the deals themselves. So that could be a proposal. I don't mind if Paul Mitchell's there for 2-3 years building our squad up. Yeah. And then it goes to Barcelona or Madrid. It's fine. We just get somebody else, and Phil Giles stays there and keeps the vision of the club going, essentially.
Yeah. I mean, I see where you come from on that one. And I mean, the thing is, I mean, although the media have had this out about Rui, you know, the Benfica sporting director, but it might again, how many times have we seen players heavily linked to the club, and then we don't sign them, and it's been a smokescreen for somebody else coming in? Could this be the same thing? You know, just because he's had talks, it might not be going anywhere. Nobody knows. That's the thing, you know, that the media are just putting it out there, and the fact that he's actually in London as well, you know, that they've seen that. For all we know, yes, they might have spoken to him, but what's to say they're not talking to, say, Thiago Pinto, who threw his hat in the ring for the job as well, you know, who I think would be a very good sporting director, in all honesty.
Yep, I'll go with you, Tony. Like, you know, I'll balance it out in a minute between Braz and Pinto. For me, I think Pinto will be the better one because he's done it at Roma. He's worked with Jose Mourinho. He's not done a bad job there in Italy. Do you know what I mean? And just going to switch on to Pinto and Ricardo. For me, would he be the better out of the two? Because I think Pinto's really good. And it's going to be him because he's been linked to Newcastle United as well.
Mm-hmm. I would say he would be the better option. If the intent of having a sporting director in Newcastle is to develop a new sports policy for the club, right? Like, for example, having a dedicated team to identify brand new talent, having a team to develop, you know, the plans to create an academy and develop talent from there. So laying out all the rules, laying out all the foundation for a proper sporting policy for the club, I would say Thiago Pinto, because he has more experience in that. I'm not saying that Rui Pedro Braz wouldn't be able to do that. I'm pretty sure he would, because at least academically he has the background, he has the necessary training for it, but I don't know if he has the experience. So I would say Thiago Pinto would be the better option in between both of them. But again, it depends on what Newcastle wants. From what I can see, since the club was bought, I would say that having such a well thought out plan and sustainable plan for the growth of the club, not trying to inject, €1 billion into the club and trying to, go and swim right immediately with the sharks, like Man City and Chelsea and other plastic clubs. Sorry, I'm sorry, guys. But having a sustainable project, that takes time to grow, to mature, I would say that would be the best option for the club. And for that option, if we follow down that path, I would say Tiago Pinto would be the better option.
I'll go with that. Pete, what's your take? We're leaving you out in a minute. Like, we're going to get you in as well. I mean, Tiago, you might not have heard of this guy, but I've got a question for you as well. If Tiago, rather than Braz, came in instead, would he keep Eddie Howe, or would he try and get someone else in to work with him? Bearing in mind, his nephews, Eddie's nephews at the club as well, and it's going to cause chaos.
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? It could be either, John. That's the thing. I mean, if Eddie stays, he stays, but we need to see better from him. If he goes, it's understandable. So it could be either one of the two, John.
Yeah, it could go either way. I mean, Philip, I have plenty to say about it as well. I'll ask you the same question to you. If it's going to be Pinto, I mean, right? Would he trust Eddie Howe, or would you get his own man coming in at the club? And I've got to ask you that question. I have to.
Well, considering I just did an episode saying why I'm Eddie Howe in, I'm going to say Eddie Howe is going to stay in. But I think the problem is that, well, not problem, two things really. When Eddie Howe came in, we were looking for a sports director, but we were in such dire straits that we needed a manager right there, right now. I don't know if people forget. We were like 10 games of no wins. Like, it was horrendous times, right? And it took Eddie up to 14 games, I think it was, after Christmas. I can't remember, just before Christmas, I can't remember when it was, to actually register our first win. And no club's ever done that and survived. Not only did we survive, but we finished 11th. People forget that. That was Champions League form. That's Champions League form with Dan Burn, right? Chris Wood. I'd love to see Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp do that. He didn't. Then we go on to the next season. We are still a club in transition. And we're going to the next season and we managed to get fourth, where our injuries are, I think we're one of the top clubs where Eddie Howe doesn't have to shift his squad, because we're very good with our injuries. We had like Aston Villa got now, very, very, very limited injuries. And then we'll go into, and obviously we get fourth. Then we go into this season where the injuries absolutely hampered us. I think people forget that we're a club in transition. We're not Man City. We're not Man United. We're not better than Tottenham. Seriously, Tottenham have been in Champions League for the last 8 out of 10 seasons. We're not Tottenham. So we're still trying to even get to that way economically and squad-wise. We're not bad. We're definitely not bad, but we're not at those stages yet. And so when you've got when rival fans say, is he under pressure? Is he gonna get sacked? I always say to them, if Jurgen Klopp had Alisson out for the season like we had, if Jurgen Klopp had McAllister out like we've got Tonali out for the season and Joelinton out, if Jurgen Klopp had Isak out for most of the season, and Harvey Barnes, if he had Jota and Salah out for most of the seasons, are Liverpool still going to be top of the league? No, they're not. So I don't see why Eddie Howe is going to get brushed over with that thing of saying, well, he has to get kicked out. Having said that, and I will be conscious of this, there were definitely games, and Eddie Howe outlined them themselves. Nottingham Forest at home, Luton Town 2 games. I forgot the other team, Bournemouth at home. That's between 9 to 12 points that Newcastle should have won. We have first team players and we have players on the bench. You can't legislate for that. So that's the main black mark I have for Eddie Howe in this type of scenario. Pinto comes in and he says Eddie Howe has to leave. Pinto has to have a bulletproof plan for that, and a vision that eclipses everything that we've done for the past 2 years. I don't see that happening with Pinto. Dan Ashworth didn't have enough leverage because not only are the owners grateful that he got us out of relegation, but also grateful that he got us into the Champions League. So they're more understanding of what's going on now. So I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think he's going to necessarily. He doesn't even have the same kind of record as even the Dan Asher have the same kind of record as Eddie Howe. What Eddie Howe done at Bournemouth, they were minus 17 points, League Two, about to go into liquidation, and he pulls them out of hell, takes them to the Premier League. People just remember the relegation. They don't remember that he played that open, high-pressing football against Chelsea, against Man City. He played all of that football, and he stayed up on that budget that he had. We could have one of the greatest elite managers ever. He just hasn't been able to show at the point. But people are looking at Mancini. They hear Conte somewhere. They hear this and that, and these fancy names. And Eddie Howe's like the guy by the fish and chip shop. It's not that important, and we end up overlooking that. And I think that would be our greatest mistake in my view since Sir Bobby Robson. Since Sir Bobby Robson was forced out of the club, that could be our greatest problem if we kick him out at this stage. Now, I'm not saying Eddie Howe's bulletproof. If he continues not beating Luton's and Bournemouth's, I will be saying, or Forest at home. If those games continue happening, then I'll be saying, boy, that's not on. But I do think whoever comes in at the moment, there's two things, and I'll finish it on this. He has to work with Eddie Howe, finish the summer at least, and build that squad. But it also has to have a mid to long-term vision beyond Eddie Howe, should that be the case, and build on that. So being able to get a director or directors to do that, that's the trick. That's why I feel Phil Giles, ultimately, in terms of the long term, is the type of person to do that.
Facts, absolute facts. I mean, that's why Eddie's got to stay until the end of the season and see what happens after that. But I can't wait to see what happens at the end of the season, Tony. I mean, Philip has speaking sense yet again. I can't really add anything to that at all. I mean, are you Eddie in? I mean, do you think Pinto will work with Eddie Howe is going to be him or Diaz, or do what their own man?
The thing is, at the end of the day, you don't know what these guys are good. They might have their own ideas, and that's the thing. Who's to say? We don't know. I mean, we know Amanda, we know Jamie, Ruben. They're supportive of Eddie Howe, but nobody knows where PIF are on this. And that's the thing. That's the key thing is PIF, who are the majority shareholders. Now we know what the Saudis are like. They don't like to finish second best and things like that. Now, if say Eddie's here till the end of the season, and we don't finish in Europe, the Saudis, yes, I could say to Amanda and Jamie, sorry, I know how much you like Eddie Howe, but I want to change a manager. And with him being the majority shareholder, he's got more to say than what them two have. But they could come to some agreement. But I do think if he does stay Eddie and he's here next season, we've got to build over the summer. But build past players, the likes of Billing and Solanke, I'm sorry. We need better than that. Solanke's having a great season this season, but what to say he doesn't go back and have a bad season next season where he doesn't score many goals. He's having a hot streak this season, but next season he could just have the total opposite. And, do you really want to go out and splash 60, 70 million pound on an English striker when you can go abroad and get a striker probably cheaper than that who can bang the goals in? So, that's the balancing act. But the fact is, if we don't finish in Europe, we've got no European football to offer anybody, and that would be the other problem as well in the summer. Look. So even if we don't finish in Europe, we do have a good summer of spending. As soon as that Premier League season kicks off, Eddie will know himself he'll be under pressure, because if say in those first 10 games or whatever, we're not delivering, then he's going to be under severe pressure, especially if they've said, well, there's the players, So again, it's a balancing act, but I still expect us to finish at least 7th this season, and I'll take 7th all day. I'll take the Conference League, and it's a competition you can win. And West Ham have proved that. Aston Villa are going great guns in that at the moment. So look, it's a competition I would rather be in.
Yeah.
I'll take the Conference League all day, and as I say, it's a competition we can win, and then you go to the Europa League, and do it that way. I mean, all this talk about Bruno, all these people asking Bruno, is he staying, is he going? Why should Bruno have to answer these questions? At the end of the day, we know how much he loves the club.
We can talk about him in a minute, Tony.
And if we're in European competition, that guy's going nowhere. But like I'm saying, back to the sporting director, if it depends who comes in, that's the thing at the end of the day. It depends who comes in, and we just have to see what their plans are. It's up to them at the end of the day what they plan. If they might say Andy Howe can't work there no more, they want rid of him. Eddie Howe's nephew. I don't think you should have family members working in the club like that, in that sort of department, the transfer department. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens on the sporting director side. But there's going to be plenty going on about it. I don't think he's the only one in the frame. I believe there's probably a few more that this company who's being hired by Newcastle United, they're out there looking for the best ones and the ones we can get right now. But if you're going to get somebody from another club, you're going to have to pay a compensation fee. But the likes of Thiago Pinta, who's actually not at Roma now, you can bring them straight in. So, so maybe that's what they're looking at. Maybe they're looking at people who are not attached to clubs because you've got compensation fees to pay. And we know clubs, as soon as we go knocking, they're going to say, well, hang on, who's that? Newcastle? Oh, yeah, we'll just add a bit more on top of that. It's called the Newcastle tax, and it still happens.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Guys, like to keep those comments coming through. Super chats are open. If you'd like to become a member, it's just 99p. Let's go for some more comments. Also, our plans nearly completed to improve revenue, stadium expansion, and also Scott saying, just out of curiosity, are you getting any further forward, getting better sponsorships? We are trying, Scott. We are trying, and also we have added that next season as well. So they are working really, really hard at I truly believe as well. And 30 million future left back isn't the worst thing in the world, but we need a bigger, more capable squad already. So it wasn't good in hindsight. We need a stronger baseline in the squad for the season. Santos on that as well. Ian and Dan Santos are going at it as well. And also all the rest doesn't really much unless we're all screaming no more, don't sign Tonali. And they're both going at it as well. And Scott said, do you think as a collective that Eddie Howe can still take you forward, or do you need to go in a different direction in terms of style of football, Ricardo? I mean, are you Eddie in or Eddie out? Are you happy with Eddie Howe? Do you think he needs to be replaced, or do you think, Ricardo?
I like Eddie. To be honest, I like Eddie. And I think Eddie had a really tough season, or has been having a really tough season, especially because of the injured players. He had a lot of injured players, part of the normal base 11. So starting players, a lot of them have been injured. So he's been having trouble in getting the squad on its feet, let's call it like that. Also, he had the issue with the Italian kid, Sandro Tonali, who unfortunately, fell into the net of gambling, and now he's suspended. He was supposed to be the new one of the new engines of the team, side by side with Bruno. I would say that Bruno and Sandro playing together, that would be an awesome midfield. So I've been seeing a lot of problems on Eddie's side, but not because of the football. The style of football. I think his problem is to have the team always available. A lot of injured players. So I would say, even bringing in a new sporting director, I would say the new sporting director would have to evaluate this season as it's been happening, as it is, because a lot of injured players, not a stable 11 to start off. So I would say that if a new sporting director comes in, regardless of who he is, Pedro Braz, Thiago Pinto or whoever, I think you would have to look to this specific context of not having a fully available team, because let's be honest, Newcastle has had a lot of games this season, even not having the best players available, has had a lot of good games. Also, some bad, some games like the one Bournemouth, especially, where we should have won some points, we didn't, unfortunately. But we've been playing good football. So I'm pretty sure this is more a case of having a stable team. If we have a season, and we cannot predict this, unfortunately, but if we have a stable season where most of the best players are available, even if we have an injury here and there, one injury, two injuries, it's not a problem. Having 6, 7, or 8 players in the injury list, that's already a little bit too much. And not even Eddie or Pep Guardiola or Mourinho or whoever, no one could do miracles with having, the best players on the injury list. So I would say the new sporting director, I would give Eddie another season, and let's see how it goes.
Fair enough for that, Ricardo. Thank you much indeed for that. Let's go move on to Sponsor Director. We're going to talk about what Torres just been talking about, Bruno Guimaraes. I mean, his future gainers, asked by a Brazilian person, he said today that he's thought about his future. His future lies in the Premier League, Pete, but he didn't say he's going to stay with Newcastle United. But for me, in my opinion, he'll stay at Newcastle. I think he'll stay at Newcastle for another year. He'll be here next season. He loves the club. Everyone knows that. Do these press need to keep asking these kind of questions?
Well, they don't need to, actually. It is it's best for him. If he loves it up here, then he loves it up here. I really hope we keep him, because he's so important to us as well. He's so important to our side. You take him out of the team, we struggle massively. We really, really do. And hopefully we could see that partnership with him and Tonali next season, because that would be great to see more of that, considering we haven't seen a lot because of what's happened to Tonali's suspension. If we get Europe, definitely next season, he'll still be here. Out of Europe, it's going to be a hard one. I still got that feeling he might all go. But if we get Europe, I think he stays for me.
Yeah.
I mean, the conference league, just to mention what Tony says, it's a competition, you can win it. West Ham win it. I think Aston Villa will win this one. If we go in there, why says we can't win it?
I'll go with you, Pete. I'll go with you, because I think Bruno loves the club and he wants to be here. And let's be honest about it. I mean, when you think about it, Philip, I mean, did they just keep asking questions like that sort of thing? I mean, people said, he's going to Arsenal, he's going to Man City, it could be going to Liverpool. You know what it is, right? I mean, it's all speculation yet again. But what I'm going to say is in 2 words: nobody knows about it, right? We need to keep calm, be chilled, right? You can't unsettle a player at this stage of the season. For me, I think he'll stay next season. He's got a family up here. He's just got a newborn Ben. And he's settled up here.
Yeah, I don't mind people asking, to be honest. It makes us a relevant football club. God help us when we had, I can't think of a player that we had where people were asking, is he going to go to Man City or PSG? When's the last time we had one of those players? It's been a while. So this is what it looks like when you got high caliber players. Isak, I think, was today on the news. Is he going to go to Arsenal? I chuckle when I hear rival fans talking, we'll pay 70 mil and give them a player like we're at the back of a off-license shop. This is a whole new Newcastle, a whole different ownership. I'm chilled. I think 2 things. I think if Newcastle managed to keep Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton to an extent, but bring Bruno Guimaraes for another year, that's probably that's the priority for the window itself, regardless of who comes in, because there's not many people with his skill set. But if he goes, I'm not crying tears either. I don't buy into he loves the club so much. He's not from Newcastle originally, though. I'm sure he loves Newcastle. I think it comes down to money, essentially. I think the only club, if he's worth his salt, he would be willing to go to in England will be Man City. And that they're already looking for Paqueta before. God help us if they get Bruno and Paqueta. It's a wrap for another season for us, for the whole Premier League, really. I wonder if they're eyeing that kind of deal. We'll get 100 million. I think so far under the owners, we've got the majority, if nearly all of them are transfers, right? In my opinion, I know people are going to name this player and that player, and there's always I personally don't judge transfers until about 18 months in, unless it's something insane that's happened to them in the first year period. So I'm not overly worried about that. Like I said, if he stays, great. If he goes, I'm confident that we can use the money wisely. I mean, look what it's done for Villa when they sold Grealish. They're still spending that money now. So, yeah, I'm pretty flexible with it.
Yeah, I mean, also when he sold Grealish, Leon Bailey is one of them as well. And look, it turned out to be a really good player. I mean, Tony, fact is, right, if you lose Bruno, right, I mean, does that mean you're going to give Joe Linton some money to stay at Newcastle United? Because you cannot afford to lose both of these players. If you lose both of them, losing one is bad enough. Losing two of them, it'll be an absolute disaster. And then we left to show Longstaff again.
Yeah, I mean, John, you look at Matt Targett's on 100 grand a week, and let's be honest, Joe Linton deserves a pay rise. He's one of the best midfielders in the Premier League.
When you put it like that,
and says something, done it. It says something, done it. It really says something a lot. Go on, Tony.
There is rumours going around that the reason why he hasn't signed yet is because Joe Linton wants a release clause in his contract, which all players have it. All players have release clauses. And I don't think the club want to do it, but obviously the thing is, he's only going to have a year left, so we need to sort this out sooner rather than later. I know some people have said, "Oh well, why is he being over in Dubai? Why did he need to be over there?" There could be a perfectly good reason for that. It could have been he might have had a meeting with Yasser, and Yasser might be trying to sort out a contract with him as well, with him and his age. Who knows? So he might have had meetings with the chairman, but yeah, I mean, look, Bruno, if he stays, he stays. I think he will stay. I think if we finish in Europe, we definitely keep Bruno. Even if we don't finish in Europe, I think Bruno might hang around to see who we're bringing in the summer. That will be key, who we bring in the transfer window. If we're not bringing the substantial quality in that Bruno thinks we should be bringing in, then he may think, well, hang on a minute. Do I really want to play with these players? I mean, look, we're touted at Lloyd Kelly. In all honesty, I would say no. Keep away from Lloyd Kelly.
No, we don't need it.
When we were linked with Billing in January, I just looked and I thought you were having a laugh. And after, and this was just after I had watched Forest and Bournemouth, and he got sent off for Bournemouth, and Areola wasn't happy with him getting sent off. And I know people are saying, "Oh well, Liverpool might be looking at Joe Linton or might be looking at Bruno." How can Liverpool go looking at players? They haven't got a manager yet. They've got Klopp's leaving.
Yeah.
I know they're looking at bringing Richard Hughes in as sporting director on there as well. But look, and I had Craig, the Bournemouth fan, on my channel, and he said to me, which was quite an interesting point. He said, if Richard Hughes goes from Bournemouth to Liverpool, he can see Areola being the manager of Liverpool next season because Richard Hughes brought him into Bournemouth. So that's an interesting point. And, but again, like I say, we just have to see what happens in the summer. I think Bruno looks at the summer and sees who we bring in. And if he, maybe looks at the quality that we're bringing in, we'll have Tonali back by the end of August, which is going to be great, unless the FA decide they want to hit him with another ban on top of that, which I think is a bit bad if they do, considering Ivan Toney didn't really have a long ban. He had 5 months because 3 months of it was pre-season, wasn't it, out of his 8-month ban? Right. So, he got off with it lately. But yeah, look, Tonali will come back a new player next season because he'll not have that hanging over him. And I think, we just need to make some additions. Like, I think we need to upgrade on the right wing as well, John, because the right wing needs upgrading. I've 100%. Never been happy with Miggy being on the right wing. I've always said Miggy's better on the left. And if you look at his stats in the MLS, I've always said when Miggy, and I've banged this drum for the last 18 months on Miggy Almiron, and when I've seen him playing left, I've been absolutely fantastic for him because I know he can play better on the left than he can on the right because he's not an inverted winger. And if you look at his stats in the MLS, I know MLS is totally different to Premier League, but he played on the left and comes in. He does the same for Paraguay. And when he first signed here under Rafa Benitez played him on the left. Fair enough, Cabachid played him here, there and everywhere because he's got no tactics, Steve Bruce. Let's be honest. He hasn't got any tactics. The only tactics Steve Bruce has got is wondering when the kebab shop's opening. But yeah, you know, and obviously he's had to learn a new role as under Eddie Howe as an inverted right winger. Last season he was absolutely flying, but this season he's being found out because teams have worked him out that he has to shift the ball from right foot to left foot before he can put it in the box or take a shot. So by the time he does that, there's a couple of players on him and they crowd him out. So I'm glad to have seen him on the left, and we need to see him on the left a lot more.
I totally agree. There you go. Rather have Matthew Kelly. Kelly.
There you go.
Look, there's the on. There you go. There you
Stars
go.
in your eyes.
Facts. In what world does Matt Target gets paid more than Joe Linton? I tell you what, right? I mean, I'm not being funny, right? But to the end of the day, right, he's not worth 100k a week. Absolutely no chance. Definitely
I'd only
not.
say, remember when we got him, again, we were a club in transition. We got for £50 million, and because he could have stayed at Villa, and we really needed a left back, but we didn't want to pay for him for a 30-40 million for a left back at the time because we had other priorities. So he was available for 15 million, but he said, if I'm going to stay here, I'm going 100k. And it was just a deal that was worth making. We paid Chris Wood about something similar for that as well. And that's what I'm saying. We're a club in transition. So when we look back at it, we're like, how can we pay 100k for Matt Target? Well, we don't fancy paying 30 mil, 40 mil for a left back when we need strikers, when we need midfielders. So that's why those kind of deals happened.
Yeah. That's fair enough. That's a fair shout. Ricardo, I mean, you probably know, Bruno, is he going to stay in Newcastle next season?
I would love to. I would love to see that. Bruno, again, I'm going to repeat myself. I would love to see a midfield axis with Bruno and Sandro playing together, right? That would be awesome. That would be a dream to see a club like Newcastle having such a midfield. Oh, that would be beautiful. I would love that. I don't know if he's going to stay. I hope he stays. But let's be honest. Let's look around and let's see which club actually needs to loosen a little bit of its fat and hire Bruno Fernandes. Because you have to look at, the competition, right? Most of the clubs that, let's say the Big Five, the Big Six in the UK, so in the Premier League, most of them already have their midfield more or less settled. So I wouldn't see any of those signing Bruno Guimarães. I could see a club like Real Madrid signing Bruno Guimarães. I would see a club like that signing him. But the thing is, and let's be honest, whether you play Newcastle, whether you play in Man City, whether you play, I don't know, in Bolton Wanderers, it doesn't matter. When a club like Real Madrid makes you an offer, you have to listen to it, regardless. So,
okay.
unless it's a club like Real Madrid, I would say Bruno is going to stay.
Yeah. Fair enough. Alan's got a comment here. Lads, do you trust Eddie doing the signings in the summer if we have not got a sworn director by then? Pete, that's a question for you, my guy. And would you trust him? It's a hard one.
You would like to, but I don't want to see going for players like Billing or like Kelly. Even though like Kelly may be on a free, but we should be looking better than that, considering where we are as a football club. Those players are not going to guide you to the next level and win trophies. They're not.
The thing is, though, right? I don't want to turn into a Bournemouth. Do you know what I mean?
Neither do I. You want to look at better. Problem. Why do we want to look at ex-Bournemouth players?
Well, because Eddie wants English players. He prefers English players. Do you know what I mean? But I tell you what, I hope I'm wrong.
There's better out there. There's better other English players than some of that Bournemouth team.
I totally agree, man. But we'll see what happens in the summer. But one thing I will say, I want to see quality, building stock quality. I'm sorry, Kelly ain't quality. But people on social media thinks but he's been linked to Liverpool and Tottenham. I heard people are crying. Yeah? How do they know? How do they know? They know not. No one knows. But I don't know, man. Dear. Let's move on to Bruno. We're going to talk about medicals. He's investigating. And you know what? I'll come with you, Philip, because a lot of people are unhappy on social media. Players he's getting injured, like Sean Longstaff playing with an injury, and then you've got Sven Botman kept on playing apparently, and you got injured as well. What's your take on that one, man?
In terms of certain Botman or the injuries in general?
Yeah, you could say Sven Botman, and you could say injuries in general as well.
I think BBC released an injury table, where they accumulate the amount of days players have been out for each club. So Newcastle topped it we were like Man City of the injury table, like 1,300 days in total. That's 400 days ahead of the next club, which I think is Man United. 10 plus players have been injured throughout the season. It's unprecedented. I don't think, I understand why people are frustrated, because it's just so many injuries and you've had players injured. I think it was a bit of a domino effect. You have players like, Callum Wilson came back and then got injured after some crazy little arm wrestle with a player, and then his pectoral went. You can't blame Eddie Howe for that, or the medical staff for that. But then when these kind of injuries pile up and you've got no choice but to play players over and over again. We're lucky that Lewis Miley isn't injured at 17 years old, that we ever run him into the ground. He was doing 3 games a week for about 2-3 months or something. That's unprecedented, but he had to do it, and he would do it because he loves the club. So I think it had a domino effect where Eddie Howe had no choice but to play certain players through it, and they've got a say in that. They said, I'll do it, and I'll do it for the club. People again went hard on Sean Longstaff and said, he's this or he's that and stuff like that. I really like Sean Longstaff. Like I said, when I judge a player, I don't judge a player. I don't expect a fish to walk on land. People want Sean Longstaff to be Andre Pirlo or De Bruyne. He's not. His main thing is positional sense, intelligence, and tackling. However, when he's injured and he's been playing for an injury, those type of things suffer. When the whole structure of the team suffers as well, he looks way worse than he is. And there was a period early on the season when Bruno looked horrific. And it wasn't until Tonali was playing next to him, but Tonali wasn't used to how to play. He was leaving gaps in the midfield. But who made it better? Sean Longstaff made it better. He came back in and we roundhouse kicked PSG 4-1. So all those type of things have happened, and folks have forgotten that. He's been playing for an injury because he loves the club. He loves Newcastle United. I'm not saying that we don't get better and we just stick with him. I'm just saying that's just been the situation for Newcastle. Playing for injuries, Sven Botman, he's talked about it. He's wanted to avoid having a surgery. He could have had and it's not unusual for players to avoid surgery because they know that it could last for months. And for a time, it looked like it would go. And unfortunately, it hasn't worked out that way. And we've got another player out that's not only out for a season, he's out for nearly halfway for the next season. I do think it's a series of unfortunate events. But the fact that we sacked our head of medical, or one of the medical guys earlier this year as well, also tells a story of its own. But I don't necessarily blame Eddie, all the blame on Eddie or on the medical staff or on the players. I think it's a joint decision, and so it's just worked out that way.
Yeah, that's a fair shout, Phil. That's a fair shout, man. We've got to come on to Tony, but he's just got off a bit. So Longstaff has to go. We need an upgrade, and that's what Alan's saying. Need an upgrade on Sean. Yeah. But Tonight's going to come back. Hope Joe stays and Bruno stays as well. And yeah, I see you mean Santos, mate. And go on to Lorraine. Big up to Lorraine. Sancho came here to try to avoid a ban. He too will be away back to it after a year. I don't think he will, Lorraine. He'll be here next season. He will be here. And
just to add, it's Tonali that is Sean's upgrade. Even Sean himself said when Tonali came in, he goes, I'm not going to be playing. Sean himself said, I'm not going to be playing when he saw the vice captain of the Rossoneri comes into St. James's Park. You know you're not going to be playing. So Sean isn't fighting this. He knows what's happening. Tonali's supposed to be the upgrade as well. So I do feel for Sean. He's getting all of this stick. It's insane. So, that's just what it is.
It is leader upgrade, and he knows it. Simple as that. Who's the better player, Sean or Tonali? Tonali all day long. Because I follow this guy's progress when he's at Brescia on a season on loan. Got them up. Brilliant. Their best player of the season, Serie A B. Goes to Milan, doing things all the time. Simple as that. Good evening to Alan. You okay? Tony, we talk about the injuries as well. I mean, you can't be happy with the injuries, man.
No, not particularly. I mean, look, we've had too many injuries, too many players being rushed back as well. You look at Jacob Murphy, comes back, pops his shoulder again, and he's out. Sven Botman playing on with this injury. He hasn't looked great. I know you can't force a player to have an operation. You can't force anybody to go and have an operation. But I think the medical team should have took charge of that situation a bit better than they have done. Longstaff playing with a foot injury. Now, I was rather miffed at this because, look, you're giving this lad injections every game. And, okay, it might just mask the pain. But you will look at him against Man City. Obviously, I know you were at the game, John, so you wouldn't have saw it. But when you see the players coming out the tunnel for the second half, Longstaff's limping. Limping terrible, to be fair.
He was.
Now, somebody said to me, because I made a suggestion, look, I would start with Anderson and then maybe bring Miley on for the last half hour, give Anderson 60 minutes. And somebody went, oh, no, you can't start Anderson. He's not fit. He's just come back from injury. And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. He played some minutes against Blackburn. He's had some minutes in the Premier League. What's wrong with starting him? If as soon as Isak was fit, he was thrown straight in the side. So what's the difference with Anderson? We know Anderson's been out for a bit with the back injury. But that was your ideal opportunity against City to rest Longstaff. And you could have started Miley and played Miley for an hour and then give Anderson half an hour. Vice versa. It doesn't matter which way you've done it. We had two fit midfielders on there, plus Joe White's on there as well. So, give him a bit of experience. But the thing is, with the Longstaff injury, you can only give him injections for so long. If that lad breaks down on the pitch, and bearing in mind he's only got less than a year left. Well, he's only got a year left on his contract now. Now, when no Leeds United are interested in him, and if they come up to the Premier League, they're interested in buying him. If he goes down with an injury and he's out for a year, he'll be a free agent next year. And is that right to do that to somebody? And at worst, you could finish somebody's career by keep playing the player who's constantly injured. We know Bruno was playing with a dodgy ankle last year, and we've got Longstaff playing with his foot injury. It's like having toothache. If you can keep taking painkillers to mask the pain, to ease it, but it's never going to go away until you do something about it. I.e., go to the dentist and get it sorted. Because taking painkillers it's okay, it's fair enough, but eventually it's just going to get worse and worse, and it's going to get unbearable. And that's going to be the same with Sean Longstaff with his foot. You keep giving injections, yes, okay, it masks the pain, but eventually injections will wear off, and they'll no longer work because you'll be immune to them, and one, it won't do his body any good either. Keep pumping him full of injection painkillers. So, you know, at the end of the day, I think the best thing the club could do now, because we've got midfielders fit, just say to Sean Longstaff, look, go and get your up. We'll see you next season. Go and have your holidays. Go and have your up.
Yeah.
You know, and be done with it. We've got Anderson there. We've got Miley there. We've got Joe White there. So it's not like, you know, even Lewis Hall can play in midfield. So you've got that option as well. But the injuries wise, I've never ever seen anything in all my life of supporting Newcastle United. I've never seen an injury crisis like this. I've seen us have injured players, but I've never seen an injury crisis like this. And one thing I always remember, I watched an interview with Derek Wright, and you know, and he's pretty funny, Derek Wright, to be fair. And he did say, he said that, yeah, we would tell like Kevin Keegan, like, oh, we've got this player's not fit in that one. And he said, Keegan said to him one day, he says, how long's Rob Lee going to be out with this? How's his left foot getting on? Because he had a foot injury. And Derek Wright says, oh, he's about 75% fit now. And he says, would he be fit enough to start? And Derek Wright went, well, I don't think about starting him, Kevin. He said, I would think maybe benching him. You maybe want to, or maybe leave him for another week. He says, how's his right foot? And he says, well, his right foot's fine. He went, oh, well, he's got a right foot. He can play. Get him on the pitch tonight. And that was Keegan.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's a different era, isn't it? But, you know, it's just funny stories like that when you hear things like that. But the injuries this season's been absolutely ridiculous. Too many. Not as many as Real Madrid, though.
Yeah. Very, very true. Very true. Thanks for that, Tony. Got one here from Yeti, because Yeti, yeah, I mean, Mama Flossie should be sorting it out as well. She's done a good job. In ideal world, the money was an issue. Morgan Gibbs White says score brave for it as well. And big up to you, by the way, Yeti. Hope you're great. And yeah, Morgan Gibbs White, and everyone's saying the same thing as well. Before we go on to the closing statement as well, Ricardo, injury records at Newcastle United. Do you think we need new medical staff, or should there be an investigation?
Well, something really went wrong this season. We don't know why. I don't know why it happened, but like Tony was saying, it's too many injuries in just one season. I also never seen anything like this ever in any club. So I think it's too many. And again, we're going back to the same discussion that we had previously. No coach would survive an injury crisis like this, whether it's Eddie or any other coach. So it's impossible to keep a team stable in terms of performance, in terms of exhibition. It's impossible to keep a team afloat when you have these many injuries. If it's a problem, I think an investigation needs to be done, at least to understand if there was negligence from the side of the actual medical team. I'm not sure. But again, you know, could be just a coincidence, could be just luck. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know. But at least I would go for an investigation to try to understand, at least to eliminate the possibility of negligence from the medical staff side.
Just quickly, sorry, Ricardo, thanks for that, Bono. So you've got to go, mate, haven't you?
I have, yes. I've got a very important game tonight, so yes, I've got to go. It's the last one of the season, so yeah, I've got to go off tonight. But yeah,
no problem. And where can we find you before you go, Tony? Could you tell us where we can find you, please, mate?
Yeah, so you can find me on my channel, which is behind me on screen there. It's all black and white TV. I did a transfer show yesterday, so if you haven't seen that, catch up with that. And I beat the women. Done a vlog the other day at the women's game as well. And you can find me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I still call it Twitter. You know,
yeah.
It's Tony31, so you can find me there. And yeah, thanks for having me on, John.
No problem, Tony. Thanks for coming on, man. And nice to speak to you in the week. Good luck tonight in your football, and you take it steady, kid.
That's darts, not football tonight, John, unfortunately.
Darts. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
I've got it wrong again. What am I like?
Yeah,
Darts.
yeah.
No
Absolutely,
problem.
mate.
Good luck, man. And speak to you in a week.
Cheers, guys. Anyway.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
Take care.
That's Tony there. Big up to Tony, by the way. Hope he keeps himself well. We're going to give another 10 more minutes as well. And for me personally, Peter, did I ask you about the medical? I did, didn't I?
No, you haven't actually. Yeah,
Go for it, man. It's your turn.
Oh, I feel like saying get rid of them all. They really need clamping down on with the injuries that they've pretty much been at times been quite responsible for. I mean, this ejections, it's not working. I mean, Botman, as soon as I know Botman didn't want the surgery, but the medical team should have really, really went down and said, sorry, but we're not happy with that knee. That needs looked into. And the fact is he's out for 6 to 9 months now is crazy. I wouldn't have minded losing a bit of Botman if he knows he's going to get that surgery and be back to his best, because he's not looked comfortable at all since coming back after that injury he had previously. And to be allowed to be playing with that is just this shouldn't be happening, because that could have done some more serious damage. And the fact is, we're going to have him for probably out for quite a bit of next season as well.
Yes,
and it's not just that. We've had players pick certain injuries up every time. I think Isak's had a few groin injuries.
Yeah.
Joe Linton's had a few injuries this season, and he's had to have the surgery. This time, Sean Longstaff, they should be telling, as Tony's just said, get your operation. We'll see you again very, very soon, and all of that. I mean, this ejection thing is not working at all, and they really, really need pointing the finger at. They should be telling them, we're not happy with that. Get the surgery, and hopefully you come back as a better player.
Facts, absolute facts. We'll see what happens on that in the summer. We need to as well. And one other thing, last topic before we wrap up the show. I'll start with you, Phil. Newcastle's going to Australia to take on Tottenham Hotspur after the season ends, and a lot of people are not very happy about it. I mean, Alan P is excited. I would have gone as well, but can't get time off work. What's your take on that one? Newcastle going to Australia.
Welcome to the big time. Nobody was asking us to go to Australia when we won the championship. No one gave a monkeys. So now that we're here, this is what happens. This is what it is. You do tours in Asia, you do tours in Australia, you do all these various tours to build up your commercial revenue, to build up your relevancy as a club and with other fans and everybody else. If you want to win league titles like I do and be in the Champions League as regularly as Benfica are and those other teams, this is it. This is exactly where it's at. So yeah, I welcome it, and hopefully we're getting all the success fan-wise in terms of getting more fans and as well as commercially as possible. 100%.
Facts, absolute facts. That's exactly what I was going to say. Welcome to the real world. Welcome to the big club mentality. This is what it's all about. You can't turn things down like that. You get on with it. We're professional footballers. We've got to move the times, Ricardo. What's your take on it? I mean,
I agree. I attended the
bang on the money. Bang on.
I agree. I attended the game against Newcastle 2 years ago on the preseason tournament.
Oh yeah.
I was there.
Yeah.
I was there. That was funny because we had this tradition of, as you can see here on the shirt, by the way, not trying to advertise. This is the podcast project that we have in Portugal. This is made by and for Benfica fans. We again, like the word says, independent, so we don't have anything to do with the club. This is just fans. And we were doing our normal tradition pre-game at the food trucks around the stadium, because there is no alcohol being sold inside the stadium. You can't buy an alcoholic drink inside the stadiums in Portugal. So you all get together, like, let's say 3, 4, 5 hours before the game, and we call it the warm-up, like the place. If a player needs a warm-up, we also need a warm-up. And we were there. and we were chatting with the Newcastle fans. They were there with us. There was a guy called Norman Riley, and he was part of a Newcastle podcast at the time. And we actually were chatting, and he was very curious to see that there was a Portuguese guy that was a fan from Newcastle for so long. And this is and seriously, this is the thing. If you want to be at the same level as the big boys, you have to play with the big boys, and you have to participate in these tournaments, spread the word around, going to Australia, Asia, whatever, South America, North America. It doesn't matter. Just follow the money. It is what it is. Of course, there are some aspects of modern football which I hate, where there's too much money revolving around football. That just ruins completely the game. But it's my more romantic side of football. Thinking about the old days where. I'll give you just a quick example. I hate this format of the Champions League, because you don't need to win the league to be in the Champions League all the time. So you can be third place for 20 years in a row, and you will always be in the Champions League. So it's no longer the Champions League; it's the third place league also. So those small details, I actually don't like it. But if we need to evolve, if we need to progress, you have to play with the big boys. And playing with the big boys involves this, going to Australia, doing tours, spreading the word around, showing, the Newcastle colors, the Benfica colors, everywhere. It's part of the game.
Facts, absolute facts. Pete, you're like the other two, myself as well. I mean, at the end of the day, you go where the money is. You go on the tours. You give the fans abroad a chance to see your team.
Do. Absolutely. There's fans all over the country that support us as well. So, yeah, that's why a lot of these are getting planned now as well. So, think about we went to America before the season kicked off as well. And, yeah, we've been all around the other countries as well. So, you're not surprised why we're doing it now.
Fact, get used to it. All these people saying, what we got going there for? This isn't another game, waste of time. Listen, end of the day, you're a professional football athlete, professional trained athletes, get with it. Show the fans we want to be a worldwide club, right? For many, many years to come. We want to be a big club. We want to be a known club as well. We go to America, we go on these tours, Asia, China, Japan. If you get called up to those countries, you go there. Simple as that. Because you know what? When I come to retire, when I'm in a position to get holidays as well, I'll be going as well. Simple as that. We'll be well paid here. Yep, indeed. So appreciate Ian, but I'll get you on definitely next time, in the week, hopefully. And big up to Ian as well in the chat. Right, we're going to end the show there. And which has been a fantastic show, I really enjoyed it. Guys, hope you enjoyed it as well. And Tony did as well. And Ricardo, first time on my channel. Did you enjoy coming on my show? Did you enjoy coming on?
Really nice, really nice. Thank you, guys. You were awesome. I really loved it here. And, it was really nice. I loved it.
Great. So don't go away yet. Nope. We're not done yet. Pete, did you enjoy coming on? What you got coming up this week?
Yeah, absolutely. So far, I think it's going to be the preview for the West Ham game on the Thursday. Friday will be the crazy football shows. Saturday, I'll be at the game.
Yep, I'll be at the game as well. I'll be at the game, so I've got to leave on Good Friday, so I'll be up on Saturday, do the fan cams as well after the game. And Philip, you love coming on my show, don't you? That's about the third or fourth time you've been on, I believe. I think it's the third time.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it's a hat trick by now. Fantastic, always fantastic to come on. And I've got an episode, already got an episode, first of a 3-part series. We're talking about Newcastle transfers for the summer. The first one I talked about the owners, finances, and transfers. That's already out. And tomorrow is going to be a video out to do with our director of football and how that's going to impact our transfer window as well. So do look out for that. And there'll be a match preview probably on Saturday for our game against West Ham as well. So plenty of stuff out there. And just want to say always great to be on the show. Thanks again for the invite, John.
Big up, my guy. Big up. You're an absolute legend as well. And Ian thinks so as well. Get on after this Pete lad on feet, and he is bored. Obviously, Pete wants to do a show. I don't think he's got time. You never know. Ian, you got to love Ian, haven't you? Thank you very much indeed. You've never had the pleasure of meeting Team Tactics as yet. And soon. And great banter, John and Guest. Thank you, Alan. I think I missed your question out as well, by the way. And saying that Eddie Howe has his nephew as a scout. Surely Eddie will have some influence there. I tell you what, that ain't good. That ain't good. You got to let the manager manage, in my opinion. So yeah, so there you go, guys. Thanks again coming on. And got one more comment as well. I think I missed a comment as well. It's a live one. And Ugly Night was Sunday. And also as well, great banter, John Guest. Thank you, Alan. So, guys, I should be back again for the preview show on Thursday. Tomorrow, I'll be on Harry Scarf's show for the football Premier League roundup. We are going to topic out for England as well. And thank you for Mama Floss's me mod as well. She's absolutely fantastic. You will find her on Instagram. She's not on, I don't think she's on social media, on Twitter. I don't think she is, but she's on Insta. So do follow Mama Flossie. She's always available for a chat as well. And Lady Leisure as well. She is wonderful as well. And good night to Ian. Good night to Andrew. And if you like the video, like what you watch. And so a massive, massive thank you as well for Ricardo, a Benfica fan. You've got to say thanks to him. Thank you for Pete. Thank you for Philip as well. If you like the video, like what you watch, leave your comments section down below. And got one here from Mama Flossie. Ian's getting it on as well. Like, subscribe. And I'll see you back in a week.